So, hello everyone. I'm here with famous Tony Burgess, and Tony is one of the people. I think you're one of the first generation, as we say, from the Haveners. I got to know you, because you have been my train the trainer. I went through the training with you, Tony. It was wonderful. What I'm able to do today as a trainer is really basically goes back to what I learned from you and how you support it. And also, something I really enjoy is when I have a question with my Havening practitioners, as I call them. Sometimes they come, and I don't know. I really feel free to just connect and ask you, Tony, and whenever within a few hours I have a response. So I'm very happy to have you on this Meet the Haveners. And maybe you want to say a little bit more about you, Tony, and what's exciting you about the Havening.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, first of all, it's an absolute pleasure to be here. So thank you for the invite. And yeah, I think I was sort of right place at the right time in terms of being part of that first generation, as you called it, because I came across the book that Ron Rudin had written, When the Past is Always Present. And that was my first introduction to Havening, was reading it in the book. And it was very science oriented. I thought this, whoever's invented Havening here, this guy called Ron Rudin, he's obviously very smart and done a lot of neuroscience research already. So that gave it credibility for me immediately. And also, what I always love is tools that are at one level simple to apply.
Mhm.
Now, we know that there's the very simple version that everyone can take away and apply for themselves. And then there's also, where people need to be able to see a practitioner so that the practitioner can hold that space and guide them on the journey. But
Absolutely.
the essence of the techniques, though, I just thought, wow, there's a beautiful simplicity to this. And so anyway, then I got a LinkedIn advert popped up on my on my screen, and it was, hang on, this is that havening thing I've been reading about, and the very first training is happening not in New York, not on the other side of the world, but in London.
Oh, wow,
So
cool.
how fortunate was I that that was the case? So I got myself on that course. Of course, I got a chance to meet Ron there. There was Paul McKenna as well, and other presenters. And it was just wow to see it unfolding actually live. I'd already by that time used the techniques because there was no training. With permission of some of my clients, I said, look, there's this technique I could experiment with you if you're up for trying something new. I can't promise anything, but if you're up, and they were up for that, people I knew well.
Mhm.
Um, and we got great results. So I was already convinced by the results I'd got.
Mhm.
But then seeing it done by the originator, meeting the originator, hearing the questions that I'd been having in my head asked in the room and answered eloquently, I thought, yeah, this has got credibility. This is really worth looking into. In fact, so much so, shut me up if I speak too much here, Simone.
No,
But
no, no,
uh,
just I love to listen to the stories, how people got into it.
oh, well, I mean, I was so excited when I came home. We'd obviously worked on ourselves,
Mhm.
and it was the first time I'd done that clearing layers of emotions. We use transpirational havening.
Mhm.
Some of the listeners will know what we mean by this, but it's using havening to clear emotions rather than events. And when I got home, there was just like this beautiful freedom in my
Mhm.
system. And I can remember going into my wife's office, Julie. Julie's a havening trainer as well. And I just said to her, Julie, I just can't stop being happy. Not that I wanted to stop being happy, but it was like I couldn't stop it even if I
Yeah.
wanted. I've just got this beautiful flow of
Mhm.
happiness. And it was very confirming. And I ended up contacting Feliciana, who's the
Mhm.
CEO of Havening. And the next training was New York. And I said, look, because it's so new, you probably haven't got really many facilitators. How about I come to New York, having at least done one training and help facilitate? And she
Great.
said, yes. And
Wow.
I end up staying with Ron.
Mm.
How great is this? So I can ask him all of the questions that are still in my head and have really good quality conversations. And oh, it just went from there. I've been now
Mhm.
all over the world. I think something like 12 different countries in person. And obviously the ripples that turn into far-reaching waves of creating practitioners and then wonderful trainers who then teach more practitioners and then just
Yeah, it was really kind
oh
of a wave that started. So ho- I'm not aware of what's the background. How did you, I mean, did you just read the book or you must have had some, because sometimes things come to us that just add a piece to what's
yeah.
unfolding from there. So what's your background? Where did you come from?
Oh yeah, so I was a therapist really from about the mid 90s. So I
Mhm,
did a psychology degree, then I was teaching psychology, trained as a hypnotherapist and psychotherapist.
mhm,
And from 2001, I left teaching, so that became really my change work, personal development, therapy, coaching, training. That became my world from 2001. So I was very much involved in working with people who had trauma already. So
mhm.
I always had a bit of an eye out for any other techniques. And it must have just been mentioned in conversation. I thought, I don't know what that is. And then when I looked it up, I found Ron's book. And that,
Oh,
like you
wonderful.
say,
Because I
yeah,
think
yeah,
this is a valuable information for people who are new, and also kind of what's the background people. I mean, that's also what I experienced that very many people from their psychology background, maybe they're in NLP, maybe they're EMDR, maybe they're other somatic experiencing or other modalities they are working with. And then there's something about havening that is, can you what was it that spoke to you because you had that background and what was there's something in it that you said that's it, I'm staying
yeah,
with that.
yeah. Well, one of my main tools was NLP, the
Mm,
NLP toolkit, right? It's a vast array of tools, really,
mhm,
and a very flexible toolkit. And I'm always open to testing out something new that I
mhm,
come across. I go in quite skeptical, if I'm honest,
mhm,
but I'm willing to try it. And if the results speak for themselves, then I'm in. And this is what happened. What really surprised me was that we got the results with Havening that we deliberately go after with NLP techniques to create.
mhm,
So let me explain. With um, trauma and fear-based conditions that people may arrive with, we may use with the NLP toolkit ways of separating themselves from it. So
mhm,
it might be we are dissociating deliberately from being in the
mhm,
character experiencing the fear so that they can be at the control, if you like, and make some changes.
mhm,
Now, when I did Havening, I was very careful to just follow the formula in the book and not to add in any NLP or add in any of my own
mhm,
hunches or ideas at that point. I thought I want to test it for what it is. So I just
mhm,
followed the event Havening routine as was in the book. And the output was that the client was saying, oh, well, I just feel like it's more distant from me. It's like
mhm,
I'm an observer of the person who's feeling fear rather than feeling fear. It was like, wow, that's what we actually actively go for with the techniques, deliberately creating that. And it happened automatically with Havening. And I thought, wow, if we can get that automatically, first of all, it's in the same territory as what I'm already enjoying using, but it's doing it seemingly as a side effect rather than having to deliberately go there and maneuver
mhm,
that into place. So yeah, I just love that. It was like it's happening without us trying, if you
mhm,
like. It was so yeah, that's what grabbed my interest. And also I think there's something about being involved in that first wave of people that it was like, gosh, I can get involved and we can help evolve this together. We can help, yeah, with that adventure of taking it out to the for the first time into a new country or into a new population who haven't even heard of this and could benefit from it. So I like that kind of cutting edge, taking it to the world aspect as well.
Yeah, and you did. I mean, you were very influential in that, bringing it into the world, and that's as and training for many. Was it about 10 years? You trained all the trainers. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I felt very privileged to be trusted with those roles, by Dr. Von and Stephen Rudin, who allowed me to get that involved that quickly. I loved every minute of the teaching side of it,
Mhm.
because I've always got in the back of my mind, wow, these good people who are learning this set of tools and techniques, they're going to be taking it out there, and people I'll never meet are going to be benefiting from this. And I just love kind of the idea of just how far reaching that can go when you get good people with good tools, and operating from a heart place and taking it out into the world.
So I guess you just kind of explain when I say, what is it that kind of really was getting to your heart when you were doing what you were, when you're doing what you're doing? And it
Yeah.
seems like this preparing and supporting people, as you said, like good people that want to be of service to other people. And then they go out into the world and you don't know what's happening, but you know something is happening.
Yeah, I can just kind of, I can just sense, when you see really good people getting it and
Mm,
getting it in a way where you know they're going to use it.
mm,
And you can just then let your imagination just run
mm,
like with, wow, how many people is this person going to help?
mm.
And what will be the knock-on benefits of the people helped? Because, you help one person to lose their trauma, for example, or lose their phobia or whatever it is, and get their life back. And everyone around them is affected in positive ways. Anyone who's meant to benefit from them will start benefiting from them. And so it's not even just the practitioners and the trainers, it's the individuals that are helped, the ripples that will go out from there. It's so far reaching. It's like you drop this little pebble here and like, wow.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
yeah.
Is there any, do you remember, is there any kind of, I don't want to call it story, but something that you notice a deep impact, something that have changed, something where people have changed their life that probably you have many things, but is there anything you would like to share, yeah, with the audience that
Yeah,
sticks to you?
I mean, it's happened so many times in demonstrations when I've gone to groups of people where I've not known the person who comes up to for me to do a demonstration of the power of havening, and very often they won't tell me the content. So I don't
Mhm.
even know what it is. They'll just say I've had a traumatic experience or something like that. And to actually see it melt out of them. We do the demonstration, and maybe we've only got 20 minutes, and I'm never attached to, getting the complete result. It'd be like, let's just do what we can within the time we've got. And so often the whole thing just collapses right there in front of my eyes. You can see the face softening, you can see the tension draining out. And at the end, this is such a familiar thing for me now, is that people will ask, where has it gone? Because they're just like they're like a little baffled.
Mm.
It's like it can't have gone. And then often that's the point where they will start to tell me the content that they didn't tell me before
Yeah.
because they would have been too triggered to say it. And it's like, gosh, I'm telling this without feeling triggered for the
Mhm.
first time I can remember. And they're saying it calm and they're almost tentatively like, where's the trauma response? And then they'll say a bit more, and it's like, where's the trauma response? And it's like magic. It's just beautiful biology based magic. There's great, um, wonderful scientific window we have on this. And I've enjoyed being connected to some researchers who are exploring this
Yes,
like in the lab.
I'm curious about that because well, that's what I know from you and people that you do. You're connected into research. If maybe you want to talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, Ron has done such an incredible job diving into the neuroscience and piecing things together, and a very credible explanation of how Havening works. And of course, it's the uh, brainwave activity that was particularly of interest to Ron because these slow brainwaves, delta waves, were apparent with havening touch and tapping and EMDR. And it was like, wow, this is the thing that's in common. How do we harness this into the best possible
Mhm.
healing, routine, if you like, or set of routines? And so I got involved with Nottingham Trent University,
Mhm.
who have got the EEG labs available. And we were comparing havening touch condition versus um, everything except the havening touch. In other words, it
Okay.
was basically the same routine. I mean, what it was a real eye opener on how difficult it is to get the numbers of people in the right amount of time, then get it published. It was wow. I'm used to in business, make something happen, just go do it. And in that world of research, it's like you might have 6 people booked for doing the EEG
Mhm.
havening that day, and maybe one will show up. And it's like, wow, I've traveled all the way to Nottingham, and through no fault of the researchers, only one person's shown today. So it's like it was slow work getting to do this, and then even when you've got it done, it's then getting it published. So it's
Mhm.
very slow, and it's people sometimes say, why isn't there more published studies? It's because it's a long journey, getting the
Mhm.
funding, getting the people involved, getting the publication out the end of it. It's a long old journey. So we're still jumping through research hoops, but the studies that have been done, Cardiff University has done something wonderful. Nottingham Trent University, King's College are involved in things. Christie Hospital is now getting involved in UK, a very prestigious hospital in the area of cancer treatments. Um, and everything is sort of signposting. This is worth, but of course, for um, big organizations to say, yeah, that's enough
Mhm.
research for us to give it the thumbs up. You've got to jump through a lot of hoops, and that
Mhm.
means replication and bigger populations and so on. So I would say we're still quite early days with the research that actually says we've now got the scientific peer-reviewed um, rigor that says, but the biggest evidence for me is time after time after time, the person sat in front of me is like free of their
It's working.
free of their
Mhm.
trauma. It's
Yeah.
like in a way, I don't need any more evidence, but I know that big
Mhm.
organizations need that, and that will be the kind of catching up, if you like, that is it's a momentum that will grow and grow, but it does take a lot of time.
And I mean, for me, it's pretty much similar because when you talked how you got into it, I had similar. I saw it. A good friend of mine, she went to Munich and because she heard of it and she got interested and she started working with it as a practitioner. Anna, you met her too. She came to one of
Yes,
your trainings
yes,
exactly.
yes,
And so she didn't have a background in psychology. She came from a complete, and she started and the things she experienced, it was like, wow. So I got interested and I said, hey, it seems to work. And then with the little I knew, I started just with the clients that I knew very similar and it worked. I mean, it
yeah,
was like this. it's working. It's really
Yeah,
it brings a relief, it brings a change in the system, and it brings in depending on the trauma, not all some trauma need a little, it's not just like a quick fix, but with the so-called shock trauma, it can really change in one session, and people are free from year-long suffering.
yeah, yeah. And the breadth of application here is huge. So obviously it grew from this incredible base of, focus on trauma and releasing trauma, getting rid of
Mhm.
trauma. Um, and the applications now are so wide. People are being taught it widely as self-havening for state management. I mean, what a gift, because it builds the resilience that makes it less likely people are going to get to a point of overwhelm or get to a point where trauma gets root easily. It's a protection mechanism. And just, something as simple as a class of students being able to be in the right state for learning at the beginning of a day. I mean, beautiful. Whole classrooms
Mhm.
full of kids doing that.
Mhm.
To be able to go into a refugee camp as we have and give them a way of using it for connection and state management.
Mhm.
Just beautiful. Coaches are using it to help their clients, for example, be nerves free for going into interviews or give a presentation, these kinds of things, or to let go of that troublesome meeting that happened, earlier in the day, or a customer said something horrible on the phone, or so, just these everyday kinds of ways, as well as releasing, at the sharp end, if you like, of trauma work. And I just think that that wonderful breadth of application. I know Ron definitely wants it to be in everyone's hands on the planet, if you like, to have it as a self-management tool, and then for when there's a therapeutic need, for that to be in safe hands of a guided session with practitioners.
Yeah, I mean that's wonderful. Since the year last year, I'm able to teach it to nurses and in the hospital, and it's
Ah,
basically as a tool for self-havening because it's such a stressful place. And of course, yeah, I tell them also if they are interested to become practitioner, but they are in contact with clients, and it's completely okay if what they do anyhow, if they are in an empathic, in a compassionate way with the client, to just give them some soothing touch, as I call it, be attuned to the client. It's wonderful. It's such a wonderful tool.
I mean, in some ways, it's really just like science has caught up with a window now on what is ancient wisdom.
Absolutely.
Because, how do we naturally, if we're in the presence of a friend who needs calming, if it's the kind of relationship where we have that permission, just a calming hand on the shoulder, or we might take their hand in ours. If we want to calm a little child who's going off to sleep, a stroke on the cheek or a stroke on their
Exactly.
hand, or I mean, it's the most natural, soothing method from the right person, of course,
Mhm.
with the right permission. But it's like we became touch starved, didn't we, during COVID
Yes.
times? And more than ever, I think people need, even if it's self-applied, we need to have that, touch back in our lives. Our touch receptors are crying out for that soothing touch.
And I remember it's years ago, I think there actually are studies because I'm coming from the background of nonviolent communication and teaching it to children. And what I remember, I don't know where the study was, there is a study that when children touch their friends, the more likely it's not that there is violence between them, because if we're connected through touch, it's less likely to become violent in a way of physical violence. And
Yeah,
I think, and I remember after COVID, I was listening to Zach Bush. He's a MD, maybe you have heard of him, and he says,
know the name.
Zach Bush. He's
Yeah.
a, and he's, I mean, I really love listening to him. And he is also talking about touch and like this deprivation that 80% of American, he talks about men haven't been in a relationship or haven't experienced touch. And that does something with our system because we're human beings and it's a basic need that we have for touch. So
Yeah.
doing it if there is no one around us, so we are able to do it for ourselves. It's kind of this seven times a day we need a bit of self-compassion, self-touch.
Yeah, and we kind of know it, don't we? Because, you know, I find when I'm just talking, I'm just keeping myself in a calm state.
Absolutely.
Before I ever knew about evening, I'm just, it's like we know. And, if I'm feeling a bit overwhelmed, I might just be naturally head in my hands for a moment, rub my eyes, and it's like, oh, I'm, woken up again.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
wonderful. So, is there anything you'd like to add? Anything you'd like to be said to the audience? Um,
Hmm. I mean, I just think there's so much potential with it. I would just say there's a there's a wonderful flexibility to this being integrated into whatever else you're doing because, like I say, with the NLP toolkit, for example, there's many great tools in there. And of course, whenever I use the NLP toolkit now, I will say, well, let's do evening touch whilst we're doing it because it's like this wonderful biological thumbs up
mhm,
to change. It's like holds a safe haven biological space around any change work.
mhm,
So even beyond the powerful standalone techniques of havening that in their own right create
mhm,
wonders, it can also be integrated. It's not like I have to ditch all my other tools. It's like it can beautifully and seamlessly ease into everything that you're already doing. And so I think as long as people come with clarity about what is my expertise and be really honest with themselves about that, then they can find their areas where they can use it really safely and really effectively with the people they want to help.
yes.
Um, I think there's so much potential. I can't think of a single kind of change facilitator who couldn't benefit from having Havening in the toolkit to incorporate with their work. Um, I think I could talk about all the individual techniques, but I think your audience probably already are in a position where they can delve into that or have been trained in that, maybe. Is that right?
Well, actually, I don't think that there are people who listen to that for the first time. So and there might be people who know exactly what we're talking about. But I
Yeah,
think if whoever is interested, I also link for the English speaking one. I link, and I'm happy to also link if they want to connect with you. Happy to give the links of whatever you do and also of the Havening organization. And when they are interested, I mean, there's so much already online to
yeah,
have. There's practices there's so they can get informed about it. This is a
yeah,
kind of a way of meet the Haveners, meet my colleagues, to have a chance to talk to them
yeah,
and just experience a little bit and know a little bit about their way and
yeah,
why they're doing what they're doing.
yeah. So, I mean, even if we just gave a very simple overview of it can get rid of unhelpful events, big and small. The day-to-day stuff we want to let go of and the bigger stuff perhaps that's been lurking in our history. It can clear the stress bucket and the overwhelm bucket. It can clear out those lurking emotions that maybe people have pushed down rather than releasing. It provides a beautiful safe haven for that. It allows us to be able to put possibilities in for a positive future. It allows us to do affirmations and that kind of beautiful visualization of positive future and what ifing. And there's a whole load of positive future focus things that we can hold that space biologically in that beautiful safe haven that just says, yep, let that in. Yep, let that in. Yeah. And we can also do this prevention work of building resilience for people to be able to both build resilience and let go of stuff on a day-to-day basis. I think that that's really where it has a place in every home in the world.
And it reminds me, as you're bringing those different practices we're using, many people know that there is something called informational havening. And I actually get quite a lot of feedback how extremely helpful it is, especially when people are not yet ready to do. So maybe because you and Julie are kind of, you're the inventor of this informational, if you want to say a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, sure. I mean, actually, it was a book that me and Julie wrote. Julie, my wife, we wrote it. Gosh, a good few years before Havening, actually, and it's a belief change process, a six-step belief change process. And one of the steps in there is asking what if questions in place of an unhelpful idea. That's one of the steps. And I just thought, wow, I'm going to integrate havening into this six-step belief change process, which I was doing with so many of my clients. And when I was sharing it with Ron, Ron actually came up with the name Informational Havening as a result because I shared the book with him and shared the process with him, and he liked it. He just says, yeah, that's a really nice, simple stepping stone between having cleared some stuff and then stepping into an affirmation. So there's this kind of what if phase that just it lowers resistance because
Yes.
affirmation is great if you're three-quarters of the way there already. I can say I am amazing, I am amazing, I am amazing if I'm already feeling pretty amazing. But
Exactly.
if I'm feeling a long way short of that, I might need to start with well, what if I'm better than I've been telling myself?
Yes.
What if there's more to me than my past mistakes? Uh, what if I start to see in me what some others who've given me compliments have seen in me? What if I could look through a different, more compassionate lens at myself? What if? So, it's kind of like easing towards,
It's that when I do it, and that's the feedback I get, it opens up.
yeah,
It can close if it's too quick,
yeah,
but then what if always opens up
yeah,
to possibility, and
yeah,
that's the
yeah.
power I think in it.
And we can even put in some, make it even more graded. What if I start to give myself a bit more credit?
Mm,
What if I experiment with looking
mm,
at myself in a more compassionate way? And
yes.
it's just that what if
Little
and the
steps.
start
Yeah.
to or
Yeah.
experiment. It's just like there's no pressure here. You don't even need to believe it yet. Just roll with it as a like a little game.
Mm, mm.
Yeah.
It is. I love because we had event havening. That's how it started. Event
Yeah.
havening means there is a situation that had happened. It had an impact. Trauma was encoded, and we can work through and get more distance from that. And then we have other, as you just said, we have other havening practices coming along, and I guess there will be more coming as just in one of the last trainings I had, we it is from this hopeful havening we have,
Oh, yeah.
and we call it now the so it is or the so it be, or even one practitioner, she said, I just quoted with inshallah, because she has a lot of people from that culture, and so it's kind of the practitioner gives something and says, okay, so life is going to be wonderful, inshallah.
Yeah.
That's how it is. So it's we already created a little piece of so it is havening.
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, any delightful spiritual
Absolutely.
practice, for example, is open to just combining with havening.
Yeah.
I mean,
Wonderful.
really, it's so many things can be combined with it. Yeah, beautiful.
So wonderful. Thank you so much, Tony. It's just such a pleasure to have you here to chat with you. And I'm so grateful for all the things you have done and how you influenced and impacted my life by having you as my trainer. And now I'm able to share it with other people. And it's just, I'm really grateful. I'm really grateful.
Oh, well, absolute pleasure. And you're the living, breathing example of why I get so much from doing this because I know what you're going to do with it. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I know that's going to be far reaching.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tony.
You're welcome.